Hello and welcome to glorious Gateshead, the venue for this year's National Garden Festival and also for the 1990 World Strength Athlete Championship. Now, there are 16 separate events in this competition, and even if, like me, you consider yourself a bit of a fitness fanatic and bigger and stronger than the average, I wouldn't recommend that you try any of them, because our competitors are real giants, some of the strongest men in the world. Now, there are 4 two-man teams competing for the Trebor Super Strength Trophy. So let's meet them.
Started lifting weights at the age of 19 after playing rugby all through school and then from a local club in Corby, and decided it wasn't quite for me, and I wanted to be involved in the power games.
I'm relatively inexperienced at the strongman stuff. This is my first big break, because most of my competitors are a lot older than I. I've been doing it a lot longer. So this is a great chance of me picking up some experience and starting off in my strongman bid.
The winter in Iceland is dark and cold. So we do a lot of powerlifting, train just in the gym, indoor, all the time. Because we have the equipment and the will to do it. And there are no excuses because we have everything there. When I'm doing powerlifting, I train usually 4 times a week. About 3 to 5 hours each time. When I'm doing this, a little bit of running, things like that.
I've been bank manager for 5 years, and I'm now full pro strength athlete. In the summer months, I live in a little village called Mofti, where I also do some little work in a part-time in a flower and antique shop.
I train about 5 days in a week, about 1.5 to 2 hours a day. And then on Saturdays is the day for the truck pull, each Saturday.
I've stopped powerlifting over the last 4 or 5 years and concentrated very hard on strongman competitions, where I've won 3 of the World's Strongest Men titles. And I probably will keep doing strongman until I'm 40, 45.
My hobbies are I really do like spending time with little kids and trying to steer them in the right direction and make sure that they don't take some of the wrong paths that maybe I've took it in the past.
Well, the man who's devised many of our tests and our referee for this week, the final arbiter, Jeff Cape.
Hi.
Jeff, they're really designed to test every sort of strength, aren't they?
Well, this is it. First we must remember it's a team competition. There's 2 men per team, and what they've got to do is help each other. The tests are really devised to test all parts of the body. It's not just a skill event, it's a strength event, it's an endurance event. So it will sort the men out from the boys.
Right, and the first event is one that's all about local muscular endurance. Jeff's got these 2 claymores here. Each of them weighs about 40 pounds, and our athletes have to hold them out horizontal and keep them horizontal as long as possible.
That's right.
Just to exaggerate the effect of dropping the arms, there's a silver salver complete with glass of wine on the tips of each pair of claymores. The moment the glass falls, the team is eliminated. The rules are very strict. Any bending of the top arm is forbidden. The big Americans looking relaxed. The Europeans looking good too. The Icelanders happy, but the Brits already the lightest pair in the competition, showing the strain. A quick check on how his partner's doing from Helti Arneson. The Europeans still in good control. And now the British pair really under pressure, fighting to hold it. A quick look to see how the others are doing, and that won't be reassuring. And the British pair are the first eliminated. The Europeans now in trouble. Theirs goes, and immediately the Icelanders, who've been holding on, surrender. The Americans, having heard 3 crashes, know that they've won. Technique-wise, you seemed at one stage to sort of close the eyes and try and put yourself into some sort of trance. Does it help not to think about it?
Well, without a doubt, you've got to have mental concentration, and you transfer that through the motor pathway to the muscle and just lock in.
Do you try and think of other things, or do you concentrate on the sword, Dodie?
Yeah, I've been away from my girlfriend for a long time now. I've been thinking about her, so It relaxed me a little bit.
Would you think that physique-wise, you were well suited to that event? I mean, the guys with the longer arms are going to have problems, aren't they?
I think we both got really long arms, but as you can see, Hoji's really massive in the shoulder, and it's all the shoulder muscle that's helping you hold it up. And the other guys are a little bit smaller than we are, all the way across the shoulders. They have some really good events, though. They're really good in the legs. You know, they're going to be some strong kids.
So, an early lead for the Americans, 10-8, 6-4 for scoring in each event. The trample is the first individual event, and this beautiful old Gateshead vehicle weighs 16.5 tons. One member of each team has to pull it over 25 meters of track. The order has already been drawn, and the first to go, donning the harness, Brian Bell of Great Britain.
Keep driving, whatever you do. Right, are you ready?
Bell has never tried this event before, but he knows the start is crucial.
But once it's moving, it should keep rolling on, because it's metal to metal, and that's quite a slidey surface. Well, it's going to be all down the frontal thighs, I think. It's all legs. Oh, aye, the frontal thighs are really burning on this one.
Get ready. Okay, on your marks. Tell me when you're ready.
Okay.
You ready? Set.
And Bell gets that 16.5-ton vehicle moving smoothly, pulling now like a veteran, keeping his body as horizontal as possible and making good time. Change of surface there and a few slips, but for a first effort, that's a tremendous time for Brian Bell, 37.3 seconds. Bill Kazmaier next to go.
Are you ready? Get in position.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Set.
And the giant American makes no secret of his feelings after all that psyching up for the event.
Now that's what I call power.
Well, ready to go again. This time, a thicker, stronger rope. And Kazmaier's completed his build-up.
You ready? Ready? Set.
And Kazmaier struggling with his footing and coming upright. He's got it moving well now, but did he come upright too early?
Now careful, careful, careful. Yes, break, break. All right, get it off him.
34 seconds into the lead. Happy with it?
No, not at all. The terrain was real rough. I found myself coming up looking for places to put my feet, and I was too high. I just didn't stay down.
So you think you could probably have taken a couple of seconds off that?
No, half a second though. And we'll see what the other two boys do, but they may come down a half a second. They're real good pullers.
So 34 seconds now, the time to beat. Next to go, Helti Arnason of Iceland. A little bit of psyching up from his teammates.
Yeah!
The Icelanders won this championship last year, and they know that their strong events are the explosive ones. This is one they desperately want to win. Arnason showing great technique, getting almost horizontal. And keeping the power on, the rope never slackening.
Watch the wood, watch the wood.
A great pull, he's almost running across the finish line. And a fantastic time, 31.1 seconds. Well, you've got the best time I can tell you so far. 3 seconds better than Bill Kazmaier.
Oh, very good. I'm pleased. You know, sometimes we wonder We train so hard all the winter, 3-4 hours, maybe 6 days a week. Then when I really get into it, I think of stuff like my son, my family, and the people in Iceland who are proud of us, so we won't let them down.
You ready? Yeah.
Another man who really fancied his chances in this event was Charlie van der Bosch for Europe. But immediately he struck trouble. He just couldn't get the thing started. Eventually, he gives up and protests to the referee that something's wrong, and it was discovered that the dead man's handle, the brake on the old lady, hadn't been fully released. He's allowed to go again, but just how much has that first effort taken out of him? A storming second half to the full, though. He's really worked up a head of steam as he comes to the wooden sleeper section at the end. And he's there. The time, 33.1, and that gives him second place. Charlie, no false starts that time.
Oh, it's difficult with the brakes on, but I showed I could do it when the brakes were off. My legs were a little bit like jelly pudding, I think, but I'm okay now.
You feel you would have gone faster if it had all gone right from the start?
If doesn't count in sport. Actually, in your life, if doesn't count. This is how it was, and this is how it happened. That's it.
So victory for Iceland, 10 points for them, Europe coming second, and the USA relegated to third place. Great Britain, again, sadly last. And the overall placings, Iceland take the lead, the USA down in second place, Europe third, Great Britain fourth. Next it's time for the other team member to stand on his own. And then the two men in harness again. Join us again for that after the break. Welcome back. Well, event 3 is again for an individual in the team, the one who didn't take part in the tram pull. It's quite simply a brick lift. These are 3-kilo Jacobean heavies, a little heavier than the normal house brick, which weighs about 2 kilos. And the world record for this lift is held by our referee, Jeff Cates, with 25 of them. I can just about lift 6. I might even manage 8, but certainly not anymore. Our competitors will start with 12. Every time they succeed with a lift, Jeff Cates will add on another 2 bricks, and it's quite simply the one who lifts most. Well, there were no problems. All the competitors lifted 12, 14, 16 and 18. But on his first lift at 20 bricks, Magnus Magnusson failed. He must now make this lift or go out of the competition. More encouragement from his teammate Helti Arneson. Looking to set the bricks back on his chest, but he doesn't make it.
No lift.
And a disappointment for Iceland.
Begin.
Great Britain's Adrian Smith is a real expert at this event. He holds the world record for the lighter bricks. Has lifted 29 of them and confidently expects to win this one. Odie Wilson is not so confident. He went out at 18 bricks last year, but this time has improved enormously.
Bring them back. Come on.
Now trying 22 bricks. And he makes the lift. And the massive Ted van den Parre from Belgium, 7 feet tall, an immense arm length. It should help him, but he's struggling. And yet somehow he gets those bricks under control. And he too lifts 22. Adrian Smith now in at 22. He's got them nicely balanced. But just as he goes for it,
First attempt.
Something goes in the left bicep. He can't believe it, but he's in problems, and Adrian Smith was forced to retire from the competition. He tried the second lift, but without any chance of success. So now at 24, O.D. Wilson, the giant American. Bill Kazmaier, encouragement from the back. Not there that time, but it's still a massive improvement. He lifted only 16 last year. Now for his second attempt.
You want it, come on. Stay with it, keep coming, come on, quick. They're there. Come on up.
And somehow he manages to keep them all together, just 2 short of the world record. And now a chance for Ted Vandenparre to equal O.D. Wilson. And just in case you think it's all technique, remember those 24 bricks weigh 72 kilos. That's something over 160 pounds. More than most people would care to lift if the bricks were all in a sack, let alone with your arms stretched out as far as they can go. Vandenparre's arm span helping him, but he's sinking lower and lower. And eventually he has to let them drop.
No lift.
But second place for the Belgian. O.D., you were saying that was going to be one of your worst ones.
Well, you know, you can't tell you everything. That's why they call me the Nightmare, because you never know. You never know.
So an unexpected second victory for the USA. Europe a second place this time. Great Britain very disappointed with their third, and Iceland fourth. For our last event today, we've moved to the staves erected at the end of the last century to move the coal to the big ships on the River Tyne. This time, it's a truck pull. Each truck weighs 7.5 tons, and once again, the 2 men back in tandem.
Angle okay here?
First pull, lorry pull, Iceland versus Great Britain. Are you ready, Iceland?
Now.
GB. Are you ready?
This a totally different sort of haul to the tram event. The teams must keep their feet on the blocks, and it's all arms and back. They're not allowed to walk away from those blocks at all. The strain now really telling. When the coal trucks used to come up these staves, there's a slight incline so that once they'd been hauled up to the top and the loads dumped into the ships, they would then roll back down the staves of their own accord. It's only 1 or 2 degrees, but as you can see, it means everything to these strength athletes. Helti Arneson and Magnus Magnusson working well as a team. Hauling back together, going forward together for another haul. And there's no question, as there was in the tram pull, of once the vehicle is rolling, then it will continue to roll. At the end of every pull, these stop. And that makes it terribly difficult to get moving again as the muscles get tireder. And the British boys change technique, standing up to try and use their body weight to get the lorry moving again. And they gain a precious extra few inches, but the whistle goes. The 2-minute time limit is up, and neither team has completed the course. Healthy, incredibly tough.
Toughest pull we ever had in our whole life. We didn't complete it, but I think we always also ran into a problem with it. So I think we are quite happy with it. We gave it all we had, we just finished, we couldn't finish it.
There's obviously more of a gradient than there looks on this stage.
So,
every time you try to relax, it goes back?
Yeah.
Determination writ large on the faces of the Icelanders, and one thing we know, they'll never give this title up without giving everything.
Second pull, USA and Europe. Are you ready?
Yes.
Timekeeper, are you ready?
Hang on, hang on.
And now it's the turn of the big men. This should help them. Once again, no problems in the early stages. But the Europeans not really working very well in unison, and not managing to keep the tension on those ropes. Having to realign themselves there. That sideways pull, also wasted effort. The Americans going steadily, but suddenly they hit the brick wall, just as the Icelanders did. And the Europeans have come to a full stop too. Bill Kazmaier on his feet. And now he's moved away from the block. Jeff Capes puts him back. That's illegal. And there can only be centimeters in it. The time limit just about to come up. And the Americans might just have out-hauled the Icelanders. But could they be penalized for moving away from the blocks? Kaz, not even enough strength left to take off the belt.
Well, something like that, you give it all you got. 2 minutes, it's hard pulling. Time just seems to tick away.
The Americans outpulling the Icelanders, but had to take second because it was ruled the last meter was gained illegally. And there, the overall placings at the end of the first day. So the Americans at the moment very much the team to beat, looking very powerful and ominously hungry. But only 4 events gone, there's another 12 still to come. Join us for Program 2 next week. Hello once again from the Gateshead Garden Festival for round 2 of the World Strength Athlete Championship. Let me remind you that this is a competition of 16 events designed to test just about every muscle in the body. And our competitors are competing for the Trebor Super Strength Trophy. Before we go any further, let's meet the competitors again. There are 4 teams, 2 men in each team. Representing Great Britain, Adrian Smith, 26 years old, and the world bricklift record holder. His partner, Brian Bell from Dundee, the youngest competitor at 22, European powerlifting champion. From Iceland, Helgi Arnason, 25 and Iceland's strongest man. With him, Magnus Magnusson, aged 27, and the Icelandic powerlifting champion. For Europe, Charlie van der Bosch from Holland, winner of the Dutch Strongest Man. And Ted van den Parra, Dutch powerlifting champion. And last, the mighty Americans, Bill Kazmaier, 3 times World's Strongest Man. And O.D. Wilson, known as the Nightmare, the World's Strongest Man, runner-up 1990.
Any side of the pole.
First today, the pole heave, a team event which takes something from sumo wrestling, but the protagonists are separated by a battering ram. The aim is simple, to get the other team out of the pit or on the floor. This one should favor the heavier teams, but the lighter men are hoping they can use their opponent's extra power to their own advantage. Each contest is decided over 3 rounds, and the British are already 1 love down. Whatever the British team tried to do, it was to no avail. The power of the Americans left them with no place to go. For the British, 150 pounds deficit, too much to overcome, but the Icelanders still thought they had a chance against the Europeans.
So we will use a different technique. The Americans and the Dutch boys, they were trying to use their body weight and kind of horse or straight, I believe. But we will try to use some tricks, lot of speed, and move around in the area and try to push them on the ass with some tricks.
The weight difference between the Icelanders and the European team is just 50 pounds, but that proved decisive in round 1, so the Icelanders need this one to stay alive.
Ready?
Charlie van der Bosch proving that neat footwork can turn the tables. The European team taking a lesson from the Icelanders. It looked as if they got the heave on there, but now the Europeans under pressure. And Arneson and Magnusson level it up at 1-1.
Ready, Iceland? Europe. Ready?
And the Europeans getting the press on right from the start. No chance for the Icelanders that time.
Pick up the pole.
So in the final, the Americans versus the Europeans. The big teams winning out in the heats in the end. And the Americans placing 1 man on either side of the pole, just trying to make sure that they can keep control of it. And it works beautifully. Charlie van der Bosch and Ted van den Parra try to spin it, but there's nowhere to go.
You ready?
So the second heave. Charlie spinning around yet again. He gets O.D. out of the ring, but he's on the floor. 2-0 to the Americans. O.D. got all the power to bear in that one.
Yeah. See, Charlie's a technician. He knows the tricks and the trades, so my strategy was to key off him, and Bill was just a pot of power. So, but he did manage to throw me out the ring.
And in the playoff for 3rd and 4th place, the British team are already leading 1-0. And they get the drive just right a second time to take 3rd place.
Come in.
And the points the same for every event, 10-8, 6-4. Today's first individual event is something everybody who's done any strength training will be familiar with, albeit with far lighter weights.
Dumbbell press, 200 pounds, 100 pound in each hand. First to go on deck, Great Britain.
Adrian Smith, having injured his left bicep on day 1, needs the weights lifted into position. The time limit is 1 minute, and he is permitted to stop and restart.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, rest.
He calls for a rest
16 on a
to try and
rest.
get oxygen into those muscles, and he must lock out on every
30
lift for it to
seconds
count. If he doesn't do that, the referee, Jeff Capes, will just
Step back.
repeat the count
Begin.
at the same
16.
number.
17, 18, 19, 20. Rest. 5 seconds. Stop.
And before he's got a chance to add to the 20 total, the hooter goes and the 1 minute is up. Next to go, Helgi Arnason from Iceland. A little more of the psyching up Icelandic style.
Get ready. Whistle start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 19.
Arnason, a power lifter, leaning back to make the lift very much like the bench
20.
press in that sport.
21, 22, 23, 24, 25.
Locks out at 25 to take the lead. Helgi Arnason feeling the benefit of those 4 hours a day training which he does all through the winter. Ted Vandenpara for Europe. On those long arms which were such an advantage in the brick lift on day 1 are now a liability. He has to move those dumbbells much further than any of the other competitors.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Charlie Vandenbosch tells him to take a rest.
You're not the referee. 30 seconds.
Still 30 seconds to go.
13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18.
Another rest, and he still needs 2 to go ahead of Adrian Smith. And he hasn't locked out.
18. 18 lifted.
There's nothing left. 18 the total for Ted Vandenpara. And if those weights look comparatively small, just remember, he's just lifted the equivalent of a 14.5 stone man 18 times above his head.
On the whistle start. Tell me when you're ready.
Bill Kazmaier now for the United States with the advantage of knowing exactly what he has to do.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Jeff
Lock
Capes
out.
penalising Kazmaier, a bit worried that he's not locking out.
9, 10.
But injury
11,
prevents that
12,
left arm
13,
locking totally.
14, 15,
And now the
16,
referee's satisfied.
17,
Kazmaier going
18,
for speed.
19, 20, 21, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 27, 28, 29,
30.
And Kazmaier punches his way into the lead.
Put the weights back on. 30. How long? 15 seconds left.
Well, he's already won the competition, but he's coming back just to rub it in.
31, 32, 33, 34, 35.
Makes 35 just as the hooter goes. The mighty American, 3 times the world's strongest man, taking it for the USA. So on day 2, the Americans so far carrying all before them, and that gives them a commanding lead, 10 points in the overall placings. After the break, we have the hoist lift, and that's followed by a relay race with a difference. We'll be back in a couple of moments. Welcome back. Well, our third event in today's program, another individual event for the other half of the teams. And no matter how hard I pull on this rope, I haven't a chance of moving it. In fact, I'd need all of Jeff Capes' help with me. Jeff, explain what's stopping us.
Well, what's happening, you've got 300 pounds in the wheelbarrow. That's rule 1. And you have to pull it on a pulley system where there's a pulley wheel at the top, down to a pulley wheel at the bottom, and then to you as the puller. And the object is you pull hand over hand, and eventually, or hopefully, the weight in the wheelbarrow will rise, and the white mark on the rope will come down and pass this white mark on the bottom, and the event will cease. It's a timed event.
So there are 3 lifts, and the weight in the barrow increases each time. We start with the weight at 320 pounds.
First to go, first round, Europe, Charlie Van den Bosch. Tell me when you're ready. Timekeeper. Are you ready?
And the giant Dutchman having problems in getting that wheelbarrow moving, but now he's off and away.
Go.
Van den Bosch not pleased with himself. Brian Bell now for Great Britain. And the Scotsman from Dundee's in trouble. Originally, he was not going to do this event. Had to take it on because of Adrian Smith's injury.
No, hand over hand. Get back, Ryan. Get back, get back. That's it. That's it. From there now. Step back, hand
The
over
referee quite prepared to help all the competitors.
Come on. Hand over hand, quick.
And that's what Brian Bell thinks of that. Odie Wilson next. No problems for the big American.
In your own time.
Round 2, the weight in the barrow has gone up to 370 pounds. Charlie Van den Bosch again.
Just do it, that's all, just do it. Legs, legs. Get behind you. Head. Head. How much time, please?
Charlie Van den Bosch still has plenty of time, another minute. But he decides it's all too much. A kick in the back to jolt Magnus Magnusson into action.
Everything you got. Tell me when you're ready. Huh? Huh? Ready!
The Icelandic powerlifting champion bringing all his leg power to bear in this one. A good lift from him.
Good. Thank you. Ready, ready.
So effectively just Magnusson and Odie Wilson left in it. And again a good lift from the American.
Third and final pull on deck at 440 pounds. Magnus, Iceland.
Helti Arnason with the magic fingers. Magnus Magnusson shakes him off. He knows he must lift this to stand a chance. Odie Wilson is already ahead, well ahead on time.
Ready?
The weight now, a massive 440 pounds. And Magnusson gives it all he's got, but he's forced to give in. Plenty of time, but he knows he's not going to make it. And that left Odie Wilson, the winner, on time. He couldn't be beaten, so the canny American decided not to take his third lift. Charlie and Brian, not your favourite event, huh?
To tell you the truth, it's usually my favorite event. But in the first weight, I was leaning too much forwards. When I pulled, it wouldn't go, so I had to come backwards. And I had a second time anyway in that heat, but the last one, it wasn't possible for me to bring it home.
And in that first heat, you actually ripped your hands a bit. That obviously made it worse.
Yeah, just some skin. But we used to think like that, you know, when you do the Highland Games, your hands are full of tacky to do the throwing, and you lose.
Very difficult to actually grasp a rope and go for it again when you've got a sore hand as well.
Well, you don't feel the pain. When you're competing, there is so much adrenaline in your system, you don't feel any pain.
And Brian, particularly bad luck for you that you had to do the event at all.
Yeah, Adrian's quite good at this event. He's been practicing it a lot, and that's the first time I've tried it, as you can see by my performance here. So it's one to practice, I think.
So maximum points yet again for the Americans. They were beaten by the Icelanders last year, and they've come back this year very determined indeed. Finally today, we're back up on the staves, built last century to move coal so that it could be loaded directly into the big sea-going freighters. Remember, there's an incline which allowed the coal trucks to roll back to the loading point with nothing but gravity propelling them. This is a relay in which two cars must be hauled on ropes 30 meters up the slope. One team member dons a harness ready to tow the second car, but at the other end of the course, ready for a static pull using his arm and back strength, is his teammate, who starts.
US. Are you ready?
Charlie Vandenbosch getting a good long haul on the rope, getting a narrow lead over Odie Wilson. Just that vital half-second difference, and Ted Vandenpara getting away from Bill Kazmaier. And the 7-foot Belgian reaches out and just makes the line ahead of the American. Ted Vandenpara very quickly up and into the running position. And that's quite a feat because the Skoda car is filled with 5 adults plus 400 pounds of luggage. Ted, Charlie, drawn with the Americans, getting in front of them, that must have been satisfying.
Yes, well, we have 2 more days to go, so we needed this victory. Really we did, so we know we can beat them.
You got off to a very good pull there.
Yeah, well, last year we won this event, you see, and pulling vehicles like that is one of my specialties, so gave my partner a nice lead, and he finished it off bravely.
And Ted, once you got the car moving, you were really getting up quite some speed.
Yes, when you have long legs, then you can make a lot of speed.
Keep your eye on me.
In Heat 2, it's Iceland up against Great Britain. All 4 men are lighter than the first 2 teams, but this is an event which requires explosive power, and they both fancy their chances.
I think this pass is...
Okay, other teams ready?
We've got to watch this.
Iceland. Great Britain. Are you ready?
It's Brian Bell for Great Britain and Magnus Magnusson for Iceland. Magnus Magnusson establishing an impressive rhythm. And Brian Bell going well too. Less than a second in it. Both men running, and less than 13 seconds the time for the 30-meter course. Adrian Smith desperately trying to catch Helgi Arnason, but just beaten by the Icelander.
Our strong points are like this. We are very strong, both of us, very quick. We are quite equal. And the plan, Magnus has been is a little lighter on me, so he's used to do the running. But because he twisted something in his ankle, we had to change.
You switch round?
Yeah, and we can afford to switch around, because we are quite good in everything.
Yeah, Magnus, you seem to be pulling hand over hand there like a madman.
I am a madman.
So an important win for Iceland, taking 6 points over the USA, who came last. The Americans, though, in the lead, but the gap now between them and Iceland down to 6 points. So a day which began brilliantly for the mighty Americans, going slightly wrong at the end, and the Icelanders coming right back at them. You can see how with different events, it all changes round completely, and we're only halfway through the competition. So make sure you join us next week. The first event, once again a team event, and this could be one of the most awkward in the whole competition. A log chop, and as any lumberjack will tell you, that's as much about technique as it is about strength, and very few of our competitors have any experience of that.
Great Britain, are you ready? Holland, Netherlands, ready?
Each of the logs have been carefully selected to be equal in weight and girth. They weigh a staggering 450 pounds, so the first thing to achieve is to get them onto the trestles. And the extra height and weight of the European pair gives them an advantage here. But I don't think any of the teams has any doubt that this event's going to be won on the axemanship. A good rhythm immediately from the Europeans.
Use the weight.
A nice wide cut. It's very important for a log of this girl. The British pair getting started. Charlie van der Bosch from Holland, gritting his teeth and going to it. Well, I don't think Adrian Smith and Brian Bell will win any prizes for their axemanship. The Europeans now well into the log.
Turn it over now. Turn the log over.
The referee, Jeff Cates, as always, ready with advice and help for all 4 teams.
Come on, lads! Come on! Down the middle, yeah! Now, Ted. Ted, now!
7-foot Ted Vandenpara. Trying to use all that weight. He's the second heaviest man in the competition, but that log won't go. Charlie van den Bosch goes for a really unorthodox cut, and he's persuaded his partner to join him. The British pair still struggling, finding it difficult to keep their axes on line, but the first log goes. Now each half must be hauled to the end of the course and deposited in the bin. That's still well over 200 pounds.
Remember, it's against the clock, so keep cheering the British team.
Finish for the Europeans in 6 minutes 55 seconds. And the British pair really struggling now. It's a long, tough event. And they've gone through the 10-minute barrier now. Brian Bell trying to just use animal strength, anything to break that log. And at last, Adrian Smith gets it to start cracking. And just as important, gets his feet out of the way too. But a really tough event. The actual axemanship proving very difficult to get through that wood.
Oh, very difficult. It's much harder than it looks. And it's so tiring. Keep swinging the axe. And, you know, we're glad this event's over. I think it's probably the hardest in the competition.
Just show us those hands again. I mean, a real mess.
It's just with the axe.
Ready? Are you ready?
Yeah.
The second two teams to go, Iceland and the United States. And immediately, the Icelandic pair stealing an advantage, not using the slings, picking their log up. And yes, straight onto the trestles. Precious seconds saved there. A little snag for Helty for a moment, couldn't find his axe. And immediately the Icelanders establishing a good rhythm. Helty Arnason at pains to point out before the event that there are no trees in Iceland. So he had problems practicing. The Americans now into full flow. The giant Odie Wilson weighing in at 26 stones.
Come on, US. Come on.
Good steady rhythm still from the Icelanders. Unorthodox technique from Helty and from Magnus Magnusson. Bill Kazmaier, the man who has more experience at these events than anyone else. Odie Wilson gritting his teeth and going to it.
This is where it's getting tough. That's it. Get behind them. Come on, Kaz. Come on. Come on, it's going. Come on.
Helty thinks he's got a chance. One attempt only and then back
Move it across into the
to the
middle.
axes. And just a couple more cuts and the log goes. It's an incredible time from the Icelanders. Helty gets his half into the bin, goes back to help Magnus.
Go, go, go!
And 2 minutes 53.
Come on!
The winners without any question. The Americans still struggling.
Come on.
26 stones of Odie Wilson and over 20 stones of Bill Kazmaier. And that's the sound they've been waiting for, but they're so exhausted.
Come on, Odie! Come on! Come on, Odie! Come on!
Odie trapped by the log, I
Got
think.
it now. Together. Together, man. Come on!
Well, he's freed himself, but they are so exhausted. They really can only just get the energy to finish. Plenty of time, though, to finish in front of the Europeans. Odie, any breath left there to speak?
It's me.
That log just wouldn't go for you, would it?
Nah, we're going next time.
What was toughest in the actual the chopping? Was it your breath that went most, or the shoulders?
You know, I respect
guys that are in the gym, you don't think this is work, but this is hard. It was just actually cutting along. It's just hard work. Period.
You wouldn't fancy doing it for a living?
Well, if I had to, I would, but Lord, let me do something else other than that. Woo! I tell you, it's rough.
So another win for Iceland, and last year's winners beginning to put the pressure on the USA.
Right, Charlie Van den Bosch, Europe, opening weight 90 kilos. Are you ready?
Charlie Van den Bosch, first to go in the log lift. It's in fact a metal log with handles inside, a refinement on the old Strongman act. But it means they can vary the weights, and Charlie Van den Bosch successful at 90 kilos. Bill Kazmaier coming in at 150. Just rests it on the knees, relaxes himself, and then presses out. Another athlete with a powerlifting background, Helti Arnesen, going for 150 kilos as well. Same sort of technique. And again, presses out. Charlie Van den Bosch not coming back in. He really isn't a powerlifter, and he's leaving it to the men with real experience in this sport. Brian Bell now, from Great Britain. Another powerlifting champion, much lighter than the other men though, but lifts that 145 kilos cleanly. Helti Arnesen really upping the stakes now, going for a massive 160. He's allowed another go. He can't do it though, paying the penalty for trying to put the pressure on his fellow competitors. Brian Bell going for 155. Unorthodox, but there's nothing in the laws against it, but he can't control it. And referee Jeff Capes rules a no lift. While Bill Kazmaier has done his sums, he too is going for 155, knowing that that will win him the competition. The most experienced man in this field, now 38 years old. He's been competing for 20 years. And it really does count in this event. Rolls it up, straightens out. Another win for Kazmaier.
The other guys, you know, they haven't had the experience. Both Odie and I are world class. We actually share the same record in powerlifting. I set mine 10 years ago. He set his last year. And the other guys are just nowhere near us for heavyweight lifting. So when the events for carrying and running with things come up, that's when the other guys will have an advantage because they do a lot of running.
But a win for the USA. 10 points to them, restoring their lead over Iceland. There, the 6-gap advantage that they hold. Europe third with 60 points. Great Britain tailed off at 54. The other individual event, a wheelbarrow race with a difference. And then the two men team up again for the car charge. Join us for those after the break. Welcome back. Well, while one team member recovers from the weightlifting, the other one's got to do his bit. And a total change of event. This one's all about speed. Very simple. The competitors pick up a flatbed trolley at the beginning of a course. They come up it. Here's the main problem. This stone weighs over 300 pounds. It's got to go on the trolley. They then continue up the course, pick up a 50-kilo sack, round the cone at the top, pick up another 50-kilo sack, and then back over the line. The teams go one by one against the clock.
Are you ready?
And drawn first this time, it's Iceland, Magnus Magnusson. And the Icelanders fancy their chances in the speed events. On goes the stone with no problems at all. And now he's finding it much more difficult. On goes the second sack, and it's just the charge for home. But he's made life a little bit difficult for himself by having a lot of that weight forward. His time, 36.4. On goes the second sack, and I fancy it would have been easier had he put that on the back. Odie Wilson for the USA. No problems at all with the stone. No, as I thought. Oh, and now he's really given himself a problem. All the weight down the front end of the trolley, and that makes pushing awfully difficult. The second sack doesn't even balance it up, and the extra weight means he's really got to drive with those massive legs. Well behind the Icelanders. 40 seconds exactly. And this is where it really went wrong for Odie Wilson. I think he went to put it on top of the stone, but that was already too far forward, and now all the weight down the front.
Ready?
Adrian Smith for Great Britain. Now he has a problem. That bicep injury, you'll remember, on the brick lift, and that means he cannot really bend the elbows, and that stone is right up the front of the trolley, and that's going to cause him more problems.
Back on the back. Back on the back.
Again, gingerly lifts the bag.
Go, go, go!
Come on, Eddie! Come on, Eddie!
Go, 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 go!
Has trouble getting it moving again.
Speed, speed!
And he's behind the Americans. And immediately looks ruefully at that left bicep. And you can see Adrian Smith struggling as soon as he has to lift that 300-pound stone. He's got plenty of power to do it, but bending the elbows from here is impossible because of that injury, and he has to swing it up, and it's totally in the wrong position.
Ready?
Ted Vandenpara. His height should be an advantage there. On goes the stone. Nice and central as well. Charlie van der Bosch cheering him on. Ted using a tactic of trying to keep all the weight absolutely in the middle of the trolley by the looks of it. The last one on the back. Now, has it worked for him? 36.4 to beat. 35.5, a win for the Europeans. A little wink at the crowd because Ted knew he did that one exactly right. By this time, he's really set out his stall. He's got the stone back and central. He's got the weight distribution just right. Ted, tremendous win. The height really came into its own there, didn't it?
Yes, the height of the wheelbarrow was all right for me to put the stone on the top of it.
And I noticed you were very careful to place the stone right in the middle of the trolley.
Yeah, when you put it just a bit forward, then the wheelbarrow goes dipping. So I put them just after the wheels. That's the right position.
And a good turn of speed for such a big man.
Yeah, normally I'm good in such events. I'm very fast in such events.
So a welcome 10 points for the Europeans, and importantly Iceland ahead of the USA. And there, the leaderboard, the gap back to 4 points and another speed event to come. The Icelanders said they'd do well in those, and it certainly seems to be working out that way. For our last event today, we're back up on the stage. It's the car charge, and the two team members once again working together. One pushing, one pulling. The course 30 meters long, and a couple of sleeping policemen in between just to make life difficult.
Teams ready? First pull in the car charge, Iceland versus Europe. Are you ready?
neck and neck at the first obstacle. Charlie, a real specialist. The cars have to go over the line, and then it's back for the second one. Ted Vandenparre a little bit upright for this second run. And Helti Arnesen still well forward, taking a decisive lead. Charlie Vandenbosch, a real specialist at car towing. He holds the world record for the number of cars towed by one man. On the back of the British car, Adrian Smith. And inside that Skoda car, you can see 5 people. There's also 400 pounds of baggage, a total of 1,000 pounds in each car. So although this appears a sprint, especially by the end of the run, it's an enormous weight they have to lift.
USA.
Brian Bell on the front rope for Great Britain, Kazmaier on the front for the USA.
Shout me, are you ready, GB? Are you ready?
And the might of O.D. Wilson on the back of the American car. But Brian Bell really getting a charge on there. Back goes Adrian Smith. The British boys almost tripping over each other in their anxiety to get back. Adrian Smith this time takes the front rope. 44.5, the time to beat. And the British team really coming into their own. Over the sleeping policeman and over the line. A win for Britain. Brian Bell punches the air in triumph, and Bill Kazmaier knows on that one he's well beaten. Brian Bell really letting loose, getting all his power onto that rope and charging for the line. Brian, Adrian, took a long time coming, but must have been worth it in the end.
Oh, I knew we were the lightest, but I knew we were the fittest. And I knew ourselves we can take this one, and we did.
Yeah, really pleased. You know, unfortunately, Brian and I, we were a good team, but my bicep injury made us have to swap everything around. And Brian did everything that I was good at, and I had to do everything that he was good at. So I would have liked for us to have shown better. But no, we've got no grumbles. We've both enjoyed ourselves, haven't we?
Great fun.
Adrian Smith really despondent about that injury. He knows that despite that win, Great Britain's chances are completely gone. As we can see from the overall table, they are at the bottom with 68 points, but look at the top, the USA and Iceland, with just one day to go, absolutely level. And looking at the events on that final day, they're all against the clock, but a couple of them more strength and a couple of them more speed. The car roll, the strength stones, the now familiar barrel run, and finally the truck harness pull. So anything could happen.
Bill Kazmaier and O.D., they lost for us last year. This year they're coming back with unbelievable power. We were quite confident in the beginning, and we still think we can win. So we just hope the best. We won't let anyone down.
So it could still all change. There are 4 events still to go, and a couple of them will certainly suit the more dynamic Icelanders. Don't miss the finale next week. Hello once again from the Gateshead Garden Festival and our last visit to the World Strength Athlete Championship. Now, we've got some of the biggest, strongest men in the world in this competition, but when you see them all together, you sometimes lose perspective. To try and give you one, I'm just under 6 feet tall. I weigh 190 pounds. That's much bigger than average, but I feel absolutely dwarfed next to these fellows. Guys, introduce yourselves and tell them what height you are.
I'm Ted van der Parre. My height is 7 feet. My weight is 340 pounds.
I'm O.D. Wilson. My height is 6'6", and my weight is 404 pounds.
Well, they're the biggest, but now let's go and meet their teammates and their opponents. The Great Britain team, Adrian Smith, 26 years old, world bricklip record holder. Brian Bell with him, the youngest man in the competition, European junior powerlifting champion. Iceland, who won the competition last year, and Helti Arneson, 25 years old, with Magnus Magnusson, 27 and the Icelandic powerlifting champion. The giant Charlie van der Bosch from the Netherlands for Europe, 6'4", but even he's dwarfed by Ted van den Parre at 7 feet. Bill Kazmaier, the oldest man in the competition, but also the most experienced, and with him, the nightmare, O.D. Wilson. Well, once again, we begin with a team event, both team members being required to work in harmony. With me, Jeff Capes, the man who's been setting the courses and refereeing the events. Jeff, this one a bit of a first. Explain it for us.
Slightly. In the past, obviously, some of the strongman events where there's individuals concerned, they have just to roll the car over once and run past the line. This is the first where they've got to roll the car probably up to 5 times, end over end, until they cross the line at the finish.
And with 2 of them, really some technique, they've got to evolve a scheme that's going to work, haven't they?
Well, again, in the past, it's always been an individual, but this event is all about teamwork. They've got to watch each other, pull together, roll over, again, pull together. And if there's any individual work, i.e. one pulling harder than the other, the car can spin and go out of direction. So they've got to control the car as well as pull together over the course.
Well, because it's new and therefore unknown, all the teams have been talking tactics.
Quick feet. Good moves, find the handle. Doesn't matter where you grab it. If you want to grab low, take whatever you want. But I'm going to be real fast, and I'm going to take the little ones, keep it moving. If you get that big pull, you take it and use it, and we'll spin that thing right from the start.
All right. Just got to remember, the tire will spin. Yeah. It's not stable, so don't ever grab it by the tire.
I think we've decided to pick the car up by the wheels, by the tires. And then if it spins off-centre, we'll wait till it lands on the roof, we'll square up and then turn it again. So I think we've got quite a good strategy for this.
First 2 teams to go, Europe and Great Britain. And the Europeans, despite their size, soon finding that you've got to lift that car, not push it. The Brits in similar trouble. They've also got the problem of going off course.
You must get it back on course!
Brian Bell on the near side, using everything he's got. But the big Europeans first over the line. And their time, 48.8.
Yes.
Well, the wheel technique didn't really work for the British team, did it? But they're there at last.
Yes.
And their time, 61.7.
I told you it'll go off course.
Charlie and Ted, that one really seemed to go pretty well. Ted, you've got a lot of power in there early on, got the car moving well straight away.
Yeah, you want to be as quick as possible. You know, to car, you have to turn it over and over and over again. But it's on halfway the deck, the top of the car splashed. So give a bit of difficulty, but it went for the rest all right.
Once the roof started to collapse, it was more difficult, was it?
Yes, in the start you could see we rolled it and rolled it. So I was pretty sure we would have been here in 20 seconds, but then the roof went. So that was suddenly completely different. But we managed. I'm happy with the time.
Ready!
Well, this is the crunch heat. The Icelanders and the Americans tied first overall with 96 points. So today, the winners on the day will be the winners of the competition.
Direct.
Both teams having problems, but the Americans have got their car moving now. Tremendous power they have, that body weight. They are able to push the car end over end. The Icelanders in all sorts of trouble. They just can't keep their car straight.
And again, and again!
And the Americans are there. They've won this one, 36.5 seconds.
Keep coming!
Now, can the Icelanders take second? They've got to beat 48.8. And they're stuck a little bit at the moment. OD sportingly moves the American car out of the way, but it's the Icelanders' fault because they went offline. OD, another tough event.
Yeah. I got to see my insurance adjuster about this car. I don't know what he's going to say, but it's a mess.
Everybody seemed to find it easier, in fact, until the roof started collapsing.
Well, that's it. You know, if it stays high on top as you're rolling it over the top, you're all right. But as soon as that gets flat, then you got to push harder to get it to keep rolling. I think we did better than anybody else, keeping the thing moving over the top once it was back on its wheels for another pop.
I saw when we finished, our car was blocking health of them car, and I wasn't trying to be heroic in there, but I just wanted to get it out of the way so they could have a good time too. You know, so we really like going against our Icelanders. They're tough.
Healthy Magnus, you're leaning against the car as if you're quite fond of it, but you looked as if you hated it as you came down the course.
We hate it. Well, this was supposed to be a good event, you know, fast power event, but something went wrong, so the car was always going in the wrong direction, and we lost too much time with putting it to going the right direction. But the competition is not over yet. We have many good events coming up, and we will fight until the end, like wild animals.
Iceland's time, 49.9, and that put them just behind Europe. And the USA, therefore, take a 4-point lead.
There, okay, yeah. Safety reason.
Once again, an individual event now. Those 3 strength stones you can see there with the rings in them weigh over 300 pounds each. The event simple.
Get ready,
they have to be taken to the top of
Timekeepers.
that 5-step staircase. First to go, it's Adrian Smith of Great Britain.
Are you ready?
Adrian Smith has this damaged left bicep. It's a problem for him, but he's managed that first one really well. That's where he's hampered. Every time he has to bend that left arm, that's when the bicep muscle really comes into play.
Dig in now, dig in now. Dig in.
Brian Bell urging him on.
Dig in, Ade. Come on, dig in.
Good.
Yes, Ade. Voice it, Frank. Come on, voice it now. That's it, Ade. Don't beat him. Come on. Fight it, Ade. Fight it. Come on.
The former rugby player from Corby in Northamptonshire finishes in 54 seconds. Seemed to go very well for you, only just one little stumble below the bottom step.
Yeah, the second stone seems slightly bigger. I've taken all the skin off on the insides of my legs, and I've taken some more skin off my knuckles. It's proven to be quite dodgy, even more dodgy than rugby.
Ted van den Perre from Europe, second to go, and lifting very smoothly indeed. Using all that height, just straightens out those long legs, and he's up another step. This is the stone Adrian Smith found difficulty with. As always, Charlie loud with the encouragement.
Hop, en we gaan weer. Hop. Oh, stop, stel. Stel het. Stap er, kom. Niet wachten. Stap er. Kom op, stel. Niet wachten. Kom.
And he's there, 37.00. And Helti Arneson knows that a great deal depends on him here.
Ready.
The Icelanders level before the start of today's competition. Now 4 points behind the Americans.
Left. Yo.
A good first lift. Here's the troublesome one. Good time so far.
Hou man. Uppå.
And now he's struggling neck and neck with Ted Vandenparre. And that little catch there could have cost him it. The time, 37.6. Just 0.6 of a second behind Ted Vandenparre. Last to go, the giant O.D. Wilson. His legs strapped up to prevent the sort of abrasions that Adrian Smith received. 37 seconds to beat. Oh, and that's a tremendous lift. O.D. Wilson missing out one step completely on that first lift. Bill Kazmaier, quick with the encouragement. And O.D. Wilson looks as if he's going to win this one for the Americans. Yes, he has, 33.9.
Okay.
And what a gamble he took on that first lift, but it came off.
You figure a lot of these guys are extremely fast, especially the Icelanders and the guys from Germany are extremely fast. So I got a lot of power, so I figured if I could just take one of his steps away, that'll save me a few seconds and just go for it on the last one.
So another first place for the USA, and Iceland having to settle for third. The gap now, 8 points between the USA and Iceland. Europe and Great Britain effectively out of it. Just 2 events to go. The Americans the favourites, but Iceland could still do it if they were to win the barrel run and the lorry harness race. Join us to see the finale after the break. Welcome back. Well, we're on to our last individual event, and it's another explosive one, designed really to test who'd make the best drayman. There are 8 barrels here. They each weigh 50 kilos, and the competitors have to pick them up, run the 8 meters to the platform, which is 1 meter 10 centimeters high, and hurl the barrels onto the platform, then return and pick up another one. It's against the clock, and the fastest man wins.
First run, USA, Bill Kazmaier. Are you ready?
And this, one of Bill Kazmaier's favourite events.
Come on, Bill. Come on, Bill. Hit it.
That tremendous upper body strength allowing him to hurl these early barrels from 4 or 5 feet away from the platform.
Come on. Hit it. Hit it. 4
down already.
Come on, baby. Come on. Come on, Bill. Come on. There we go, baby. Boom, boom.
Now it's beginning to tell. A little more effort went into that one.
Suck it up, suck it up. Suck it up. No, suck it up. Come on. All the marbles right here, baby. Let's go, Bill.
Now he's beginning to blow as well to make it more difficult. Desperately wants to win this one.
Come on.
Beaten by Magnus Magnusson last year.
All right.
Tremendous time, 50.8. And look at the power of Bill Kazmaier.
Next to go, Charlie van den Bosch, Europe. Are you ready?
The big Dutchman, ideally built for this event. Again able to hurl the barrel, but not perhaps quite as smoothly as Bill Kazmaier. It's very good so far. Just 2 barrels left after this one.
Kom op. Alles eruit nou. Sneller. Hop, 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 hop.
And I think he's just slower than Kazmaier at this point. Yes, he's not going to beat him. And struggles with that last one. 53.6. Good, but not good enough.
I had a really nice run. No problems really, but yeah, the old men still beat me. Unfortunately, but there will be a time. There will be a day I beat them.
Ready!
Brian Bell from Great Britain, third to go. A much lighter man and a much younger man. So he's got the speed, but not the strength. And you can see what that means. He has to go right up to the platform. He really has to take probably 2 paces more than Bill Kazmaier and Charlie van der Bosch. So even though he might be faster across the ground, he's covering more, and he's slower than those two at this point. But this is where the crunch really comes. And just like the others, he's struggling with those last 2 barrels. He's already slower than Kazmaier, slower than Charlie van der Bosch too. A good run, but Brian Bell finishes in 58.4. Here's where it really started to hurt. Look how he's blowing.
Next to go, Magnusson, Iceland. Are you ready?
And tremendous responsibility on the broad shoulders of Magnus Magnusson. He knows that he has to win this if Iceland are to stay in the Hunter Tour. Set off at a tremendous pace. He won this event last year. And Helti Arnesen has the stopwatch in his hand. He's keeping him absolutely up to the second on everything. A tremendous run. Just the 2 to go. Again, fatigue sets in. It's going to be very tight. Remember, 50.8 he's got to beat. And he's done it, 49.6.
I needed to be fast because Bill was fast. I beat Bill last year, so I knew he would be at the revenge now. But I did it again.
You were well ahead of the clock halfway through, but then the tiredness seems to really come in. Is that how it works?
Yes. Last maybe 3 barrels. They get heavier all the time when you get tired. But I was going for it. No way I was going to let in. So I'm happy about it.
So Iceland taking maximum points to keep themselves in with a chance of victory. And for our last event, back to the staves, and we've got a harness pull on the big trucks. The 7.5-ton trucks have to be hauled over a 30-meter course up the incline along the staves. First to go, Europe against Great Britain. These 2 teams now really pulling for pride rather than prizes. Europe safe in 3rd place and the British team in 4th. Remember, the Brits won the car pull, but these 7.5-ton trucks are a very different matter. Nevertheless, they've got it moving and ahead of the big Europeans at the moment. Brian Bell really coming into his own on these leg power events. And Britain first, much to his delight.
You know, Brian's a very good puller, and he was like the captain on the way up and told me what to do.
Well, the secret is when you're pulling a tuck on the flat surface, start off short, explosive steps, using the hands, then you get up into a hanging position,
And they both worked great as a team because they're both similar builds and height. We gave away maybe 7 stone, but we worked together as the team. And that's what counts on this event.
Helti Arnesen psyching himself up. He knows exactly what's got to happen. He and Magnus Magnusson must beat the time of 41 seconds exactly set by the Brits. And he wants the Americans slower than 42.4 if they're going to tie the scores at the end of these 16 events in this year's championship. And these big trucks are very different kettle of fish to the cars. The extra body weight of the Americans already telling. And the Icelanders struggling to get the big Iveco truck moving. Odie Wilson charging away and knowing now that they've got the championship in the bag. And by way of celebration, Odie Wilson cheers in their major opponents. The Icelanders have pushed them all the way, but they're now just about spent at the end of this grueling event.
Well done.
Eventually, for all their speed, the difference in body weight defeating them. A very emphatic victory. Once you got it moving, you were almost getting into a run.
That's the key, you know. When you got body weight such as ours, both our legs are pretty powerful, so once we got the truck going, Bill used a good strategy. He stayed low. I came up a little bit, but I kept my arms around him, so we could kind of like get in the same stride, and we just kept going. I could have ran forever with the truck, not by myself.
Another good victory, though, Kaz.
Yeah,
enjoying this one?
Yeah, 4 big pistons just pounding away on the turf. Oh, we made it fun, you know. Too bad for the Icelanders. I don't know if they finished or not, but it's a pretty tough course. A lot of the guys are really banged up, and after 3 days of grueling events, the body just takes a toll, and all these injuries add up. Before you know it, you can't walk the next day.
I have been lucky through the years. I have never got serious injuries or anything. But I think last year we won. We shocked the world of strength and power by winning, because we were kind of little names coming up. We have lost the title now, but it just brings back the will to train and to win again. Maybe we were needed to be taken down a little, so we just know we have to work harder for next year and just hope they will put more like events who fit us better than this year. But anyway, the Americans, they were the best this year. They were unbeatable, and we just have to take second place.
So there it is, the USA winning the final event. Iceland having to settle for 4th, and that gave the USA victory by a clear 12 points. Everybody agrees, worthy winners, and Alan Palmer, the marketing director of the sponsors, Trebor Bassett Limited, presents them with the Trebor Super Strength Trophy.
Yay!
And if your kids out there watching, teamwork.